Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Literature with Jaisal. Today, we are diving into one of the most beautiful and musical poems of the English Renaissance, Epithalamion by Edmund Spenser. Before we get into the poem, let's talk briefly about the poet himself. Edmund Spenser was one of the most important poets of the Elizabethan age, the same golden age that gave us Shakespeare, Sidney, and Marlowe. Spenser is best known for his epic romance called The Faerie Queene, but Epithalamion is often considered his most personal and heartfelt poem. And you'll know the reason why. The word epithalamion comes from Greek epi meaning upon and thalamos meaning bridal chamber. So basically, it means a wedding song. Traditionally, such poems were sung outside the bride's room on the wedding night to bless the couple's union. Spenser wrote Epithalamion for his own marriage to Elizabeth Boyle in 1594, making it both a love poem and a deeply spiritual celebration of marriage. It blends personal emotion, mythology, religion, and nature into one harmonious song. The poem is a 24 stanza wedding ode. Each stanza here represents an hour of the wedding day. It's so beautiful. A concept that also ties to the 365 longer lines representing the year until the wedding. Now, a quick word on Spenserian stanza, the poetic form he invented. Each stanza has 9 lines. A Spenserian stanza has 9 lines. The first 8 are in iambic pentameter. That means it has 5 beats per line, and the ninth line is called an Alexandrine, which has 6 beats. So the rhyme scheme is AB, AB, BC, BC, C. The Epithalamion uses a modified extended version of this form. It does not use the Spenserian stanza but an extended version of this form. Most stanzas are 18 or 19 lines long, although the structure deviates slightly in the 15th stanza, which is unique, featuring only 17 lines and a different rhyme scheme. FEGGHH, a departure from the usual pattern. The poem concludes with a short 7-line envoi that formally marks the end of the poem and offers a final conclusion. Alright, let's begin with exploring Epithalamion through 6 main sections because line by line explanation is not possible for this poem. And here the 6 main sections will reflect a part of the wedding day from dawn to midnight. Let's begin with the poem now. Part 1 is the invocation and the morning preparations. The poem opens at dawn. The wedding day has just begun. Spenser, as the groom and narrator, calls upon the muses, the divine sisters of poetry and art, to help him sing the perfect wedding song. He begins by saying, "Ye learned sisters, which have oftentimes been to my aiding." He humbly asks for their inspiration so that his song may be worthy of this sacred occasion. This section sets the tone. It's not just a personal love poem, it's a spiritual and cosmic celebration. The poet sees his marriage as something blessed by heaven. Spenser then calls upon Phoebus, Apollo, or the sun god to rise quickly and light up the day. He prays that the sun should not scorch, but rather shine gently on his beloved bride. The imagery is vivid. The whole natural world seems to awaken and participate in the joy of this wedding day. Birds begin to sing, flowers bloom, and even rivers seem to murmur softly. But the excitement is mixed with impatience. Spenser cannot wait to see his bride. He describes how she is still inside, being dressed and adorned by her attendants. The poem captures the universal feeling of anticipation before a wedding. The restless groom, the world bright and alive, everything and everyone waiting for that one moment. At the same time, this section connects the human with the divine. The earthly wedding mirrors a heavenly harmony. Every natural element, light, sound, scent, becomes a part of the celebration. Through mythological references and nature's imagery, Spenser builds up a sense of sacred expectation. He is not just marrying a woman, he is uniting with his earthly heaven. The morning part of Epithalamion thus represents hope, purity, and divine blessings, the start of a perfect day that mirrors the journey from dawn to dusk, youth to maturity, and love to fulfillment. The second part describes the bride's beauty and the procession, the wedding procession. As the day progresses, the focus shifts to the bride, Elizabeth Boyle. This section is filled with admiration, love, and almost reverent awe. Spenser describes how his bride emerges from her chamber, adorned and radiant, like a goddess or an angel descending to earth. The poet uses imagery of light, purity, and divine grace. Her eyes shine brighter than the morning star. Her hair gleams like gold, and her entire presence fills the air with holiness. Wow, she's a gorgeous bride, and the poet describes her so, just like he should. He asks the nymphs of the river to guard her as she walks to the church, ensuring that nothing impure or harmful touches her. This is both romantic and symbolic. Spenser's love is not merely physical, it's spiritual. His bride represents chastity, grace, and divine beauty, qualities that elevate love beyond desire. The bridal procession moving towards the church becomes almost a ritual of sanctification. Spenser fuses Christian imagery with classical mythology. Angels and gods coexist, showing how Renaissance poets often blend both worlds seamlessly. The groom's tone is full of wonder. He praises every aspect of his bride, but also acknowledges his unworthiness, saying no mortal words can fully capture her beauty. The crowd watching the procession shares his awe. This part of Epithalamion captures the magical moment when love becomes public, when private emotion turns into social celebration. The bride walking toward the church symbolizes the union not only of two individuals, but of heaven and earth, spirit and body, love and faith. As bells ring and the air fills with music, Spenser's words rise in rhythm and sound. The poem itself feels like a wedding song being sung in real time. The imagery is lush, musical, and deeply emotional. The main idea here is Spenser idolizes his bride not as an object of desire, but as a symbol of spiritual perfection. She is beauty made divine, and her journey to church is a journey from innocence to sacred union. Part 3 describes the church ceremony and the vows. Now we reach the heart of the day, the wedding ceremony itself. This section brings together all the poem's themes: love, faith, joy, and divine blessing. Inside the church, surrounded by family, friends, and angels above, Spenser describes the solemn yet joyous moment when he and Elizabeth are joined in holy matrimony. The tone becomes more spiritual. He thanks God and asks for his continuous grace so that their marriage may remain pure and faithful. Spenser's marriage ceremony mirrors the union between human soul and divine love, an idea rooted in both Christian and Platonic traditions. The act of marriage becomes symbolic of harmony, order, and creation. Throughout the ceremony, Spenser's emotions are tender yet restrained. He feels blessed but humbled, aware of the sacredness of what is happening. His joy is not wild passion, but spiritual serenity. He also prays that the day remain calm and that no evil spirits or dark omen disturb their happiness. In Renaissance thought, marriage wasn't only a personal event, it was cosmic, involving angels, deities, and natural forces. The ceremony closes with the couple emerging as husband and wife, surrounded by blessings and music. Bells ring joyously. Spenser's song here celebrates marriage as both a social bond and a divine covenant. The poet sees this union as something eternal, not just in the eyes of society, but in the larger scheme of creation. Through marriage, human love participates in the creative energy of God. This section ends with a mood of triumph and thanksgiving. The morning has turned into radiant noon, symbolizing fulfillment and grace. Spenser's language reflects harmony and rhythm, echoing the music of the wedding bells. Open the temple gates unto my love. It's a perfect blend of devotion, joy, and sacred emotion, the spiritual high point of the entire poem. Part 4 describes the evening festivities and celebration. As the day moves towards evening, the tone of the poem shifts again, from sacred solemnity to joyful celebration. Now, the wedding feast begins. Spenser invites all friends, guests, and the mythological spirits to join in rejoicing and the dancing. Music, laughter, and feasting fills the air. He even calls upon Hymen, the Greek god of marriage, to bless the union. But even in this joy, Spenser's poetic voice remains elevated and graceful. The festivities aren't portrayed as wild or sensual, but harmonious and dignified. Every act of joy reflects divine order. He praises the guests, the music, the laughter, and the unity of everyone gathered. The sun now begins to set, symbolizing the transition from public celebration to private union. The evening also represents maturity, the fullness of life and love. Spencer subtly suggests that human love, when guided by purity and faith, reflects the eternal rhythm of nature, from dawn, noon to dusk, just as marriage reflects the cycle of life. Even as the party continues, Spencer's heart turns inward again. He prays that his bride's beauty and virtue remain eternal, and that their love may grow deeper with time. The language becomes more musical and flowing too, echoing the rhythm of dance and song. The mood is radiant, but there's also a quiet undercurrent of longing, anticipation for the night to come. This section beautifully captures the balance between joy and reverence, between public festivity and private devotion. It's as if Spencer is saying human love should be celebrated with the same grace and music that heaven gives to nature. As the sun sets, he asks Phoebus, the sun god, to rest. For now it's time for Cynthia, the moon, to rise, to bless the night of love. The transition from day to night prepares the audience for the emotional and spiritual climax of the poem, the consummation of marriage. Part 5, The Night and Consummation. Now we enter the night, the most intimate and emotional part of Epithalamion. The tone becomes hushed, romantic, and sacred. Spenser calls upon the nymphs, fairies, and angels to guard the bridal chamber, ensuring peace, harmony, and purity. He asks them to drive away all evil spirits and let only love and blessing remain. He then directly addresses his bride. His voice becomes tender, almost reverential. He speaks of entering their new life together, not just physically, but also spiritually. The night symbolizes union, but Spenser's focus is on chastity and divine love, not mere desire. He prays that their marriage will bear fruit not only in children but in virtue, creativity, and joy. The repeated invocation of gods and spirits reinforces that this union is sacred, watched over both by heaven and earth. The section also marks the fusion of body and soul, a deeply Renaissance idea. Spenser sees physical love as a reflection of spiritual harmony. For him, to love one's spouse purely and truly is to participate in divine creation. The tone here is peaceful, filled with moonlight imagery, gentle, glowing, and tender. The world seems to fall silent, as if nature itself is holding its breath for this holy moment. Spenser's poetry in these lines feels like a prayer. He asks the moon to shine softly, the winds to stay calm, and the night to remain still, so that love may unfold in serenity. He doesn't describe the act itself, of course. Instead, he elevates it into a symbol of eternal love and fertility. Through this, Spencer transforms what could have been a sensual scene into something timeless and spiritual. The night becomes the culmination of everything the day represented: faith, purity, and fulfillment. It's a perfect harmony between human passion and divine purpose, between body and soul, earth and heaven. We now begin with part 6 and the last part, the morning after and final blessing. The poem concludes with dawn returning, completing the full circle of the day. The tone is serene, fulfilled, and full of gratitude. Spenser greets the new morning not as a restless groom, but as a contented husband. The day before was filled with excitement and anticipation. Now it's peace and blessing. He offers one final prayer: that his marriage will be fruitful and long lasting, that his wife will be protected and cherished, and their union will be blessed with children who carry forward their virtues. He also prays that his poem, his Epithalamion, may live forever as a monument of love and art. And it truly does. Centuries later, we still read and admire it. This section unites the temporal and the eternal. The wedding day may have ended, but love, faith, and poetry endures beyond time. The rising sun now represents renewal and continuity, not impatience. The circle of life continues. Each new dawn echoes that first wedding morning. Spenser's closing lines are both humble and triumphant. He thanks the muses and gods for their blessings, sealing the poem with gratitude and joy. The final tone is one of harmony, fertility, and divine grace, showing that true love is not fleeting passion, but everlasting companionship sanctified by heaven. So, in the end, Epithalamion isn't just a wedding song, it's a celebration of life, love, art, and faith. It moves from morning to night, from desire to fulfillment, from earthly joy to divine blessing. It's a poem that sings of love in its highest form, pure, creative, and eternal. And that's why Edmund Spenser's Epithalamion remains one of the most beautiful wedding poems ever written. A lyrical masterpiece that turns one man's love story into a cosmic song. Thank you for watching.